UN hears testimony on how Hamas militants raped women during October 7 attacks. Live updates show. Title Israel's airstrikes renewed the south of Gaza after the 7-day ceasefire agreement ended. Israel resumed airstrikes against Gaza, hitting areas where residents were sheltered. Evidence aimed at proving that Hamas committed crimes of sexual violence during the October 7 attack on Israel was presented at a UN meeting hosted by Israel's ambassador to the global body on Monday. Gilad Erdan said that the UN and its organizations completely ignored the attacks for almost 60 days and still raise suspicion. Erdan said the evidence included reports from first responders in militant-hit areas and reserve military officers working to identify the bodies of those killed. Hamas issued a statement denying that its militants had committed sexual assault, calling allegations an effort to distort Palestinian resistance and humane and moral relations with detainees demonstrated by militants. The world must decide who to believe, said Sheryl Sandberg, former Meta CEO and founder of the nonprofit group Lean In. Do we believe the Hamas spokesperson who says that rape is prohibited and therefore cannot happen on October 7? Or do we believe women whose bodies tell us how they spent the last minutes of their lives? Sandberg told the meeting that rape should never be used as an act of war and that silence is complicity. UN Secretary-General António Guterres said last week that reports of sexual assault must be robustly investigated. Bombing continues. Israel expands ground offensive in Gaza. Improvements end-proof telephone and internet service across Gaza was cut again on Monday evening, leaving residents largely unconnected with the outside world. Palestinian telecommunications provider PalTel reported. End-proof. Thousands Israelis attended the funeral of 41-year-old Colonel Asaf Hamami, commander the Gaza Division's Southern Brigade, whose body was held by Hamas in Gaza. End-proof. Lawyers for Amnesty International and other groups went court. Netherlands on Monday call for a halt the export of fighter jet parts. Israel, alleging that Dutch government is complicit in possible war crimes against Palestinians. Gaza. The White House again said Monday that a week-long ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has ended because the Palestinian militant group failed to hand over hostages that were supposed to be released. Hamas refuses to release civilian women who are supposed to be part of the agreement, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said. And it is this refusal by Hamas that led to end of the hostage agreement and thus cessation of hostilities. Hamas officials blamed the Israelis and said they had turned down offers to release the bodies of elderly captives and hostages. Michael Collins' security options for civilians in southern Gaza continued to dwindle on Monday as Israeli forces paired an expanded ground offensive with repeated airstrikes in an attempt to